They called him weak until he revealed his secret identity. They laughed at him every single day. They called him weak, useless, a loser. To them, he was nothing more than a scrawny kid, someone who would never fight back. But that afternoon, everything changed. What they didn't know was that he had a secret that would wipe the smiles off their faces in an instant. And when the truth came out, it was too late for regrets. Ethan had always been the quiet one, the kind of kid who kept to himself, avoided conflicts, and never fought back. At school, he was just another face in the crowd, thin, awkward, and easy to overlook. But for some, he wasn't just invisible, he was a target. Every day, the same group of bullies made his life miserable. Josh, the ringleader, loved to make Ethan's existence unbearable. Whether it was tripping him in the hallway, knocking his books to the ground, or mocking his every move, it was a routine that never changed. "Hey, Ethan, nice shirt. Did your grandma pick it out for you?" Josh sneered as his friends erupted in laughter. Ethan kept his head down, gripping the straps of his backpack tighter. He didn't respond. He never did. That only made things worse. One afternoon in the cafeteria, it escalated. Ethan was carrying his lunch tray, carefully balancing it as he searched for an empty seat. That's when Josh stuck out his foot. Ethan didn't even see it coming. Crash! The tray flipped, food splattering all over his shirt. The cafeteria roared with laughter. Ethan froze, his ears burning. His heart pounded in his chest. He could feel dozens of eyes on him, judging, mocking. "Oops! Looks like weak Ethan can't even hold his lunch." Josh grinned, slapping hands with his friends. Ethan clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. But he didn't say a word. He simply picked up his tray, wiped the mashed potatoes off his shirt, and walked away. Let them laugh, he thought to himself. Because if they knew who he really was, they wouldn't be laughing for long. The cafeteria incident was just the beginning. Josh and his friends weren't satisfied with just embarrassing Ethan. They wanted to break him. After school, Ethan walked alone, his hoodie pulled up as he made his way home. But today, something felt off. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He could hear footsteps behind him, laughing. "Yo, Ethan! Where you going in such a hurry?" Ethan didn't stop. He knew what was coming. Suddenly, thud! A shove from behind sent him stumbling forward. His backpack hit the pavement, books spilling onto the sidewalk. Josh and his gang surrounded him, blocking his way. "You never fight back, Ethan. What's the matter? Too weak? Or just scared?" Josh smirked, cracking his knuckles. Ethan slowly stood up, brushing the dirt off his jeans. He stared at them, but still, he said nothing. "Look at him. Not even gonna defend himself," one of Josh's friends scoffed. Josh stepped closer, his grin widening. "You know, maybe we should teach him a lesson. Give him a reason to toughen up." Ethan's fingers twitched, his breath slowed. Not yet. They wouldn't understand, not until it was too late. Josh raised a fist, ready to strike, when suddenly a gust of wind swept through the alley. A chill ran down Josh's spine. Ethan didn't move. He just stared. And for the first time, there was something different in his eyes. Josh hesitated, his confidence wavering. But then he shook it off and scoffed. "Whatever, he's not worth it," he muttered, stepping back. Ethan watched them leave, his fists still clenched. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from restraint. They had no idea who he really was. But soon, they would. Friday night. The school gym buzzed with excitement. The annual underground fight tournament was happening, an event no teacher knew about, where students placed bets and watched fighters go head-to-head. Josh and his gang were there, of course, front row, laughing, making bets. "Man, I swear, this new guy better not be another weakling," Josh muttered, crossing his arms. The announcer grabbed the mic. "All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise tonight, a new challenger, a mystery fighter." The crowd murmured in curiosity. Josh rolled his eyes. "Who cares? Just bring him out." The gym lights dimmed, a hush fell over the audience, and then the challenger stepped into the ring. The moment Josh saw him, his face twisted in shock. Ethan. But he wasn't the same Ethan they humiliated every day at school. He stood tall, wearing a sleeveless hoodie. His arms, once hidden under baggy clothes, revealed lean, toned muscle. His eyes burned with something fierce. The entire gym fell silent. "Wait, what? No way!" one of Josh's friends stammered. Ethan slowly pulled down his hood. His expression was unreadable. Calm, collected. The announcer grinned. "Oh, this just got interesting. Looks like we've got a familiar face in the ring tonight. Who's ready for a show?" The bell rang. Josh's face went pale. Ethan cracked his knuckles. "Now," he said softly, stepping forward. "Let's see who the real weak one is." Josh hesitated. For the first time ever, he wasn't the one in control. The crowd roared, hungry for action. But Ethan, he just stood there, completely still, his gaze locked onto Josh. No fear, no hesitation. "What's the matter, Josh?" Ethan asked, tilting his head. "You wanted to teach me a lesson, right?" Josh clenched his fists. "No way. This had to be a joke. You think just because you hit the gym a few times you can take me?" He spat, forcing a smirk. But his voice lacked its usual confidence. He charged forward, throwing a punch. Big mistake. With lightning-fast reflexes, Ethan sidestepped at the last second. Josh's fist hit nothing but air. The crowd gasped. Josh spun around, furious, and swung again. This time, Ethan caught his wrist mid-air. His grip was like steel. Josh's smirk disappeared. His face twisted in shock. Ethan twisted Josh's arm slightly, just enough to make him wince. Then with a single movement, he swept Josh's legs out from under him. Thud! Josh hit the mat hard. Silence. The gym, once filled with laughter and cheers, had gone completely still. Ethan didn't even look tired. He rolled his shoulders, his expression unreadable. "Get up," he said. Josh scrambled to his feet, rage and humiliation burning in his eyes. "You got lucky," he growled. He charged again. Ethan barely moved. The moment Josh got close, bam! A precise strike to the ribs, not enough to break anything, but enough to hurt. Josh stumbled back, gasping. He had never felt pain like this before. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked, stepping closer. "Not so fun when you're the one getting knocked down, huh?" Josh's legs shook. He looked around, searching for support, but his friends, they were silent. No one was laughing anymore. Ethan leaned in, his voice calm but firm. "I never fought back before because I didn't have to prove anything to you." He narrowed his eyes. "But I think it's time you learned what it feels like to be powerless." Josh swung one last time, desperate, reckless. Ethan ducked. And with one final move, he swept Josh's legs again, but this time he let him fall face first into the mat. Crash! The entire gym erupted. People who had once laughed at Ethan were now cheering, chanting his name. Josh groaned, rolling onto his back, staring at the ceiling in disbelief. He had lost to the guy he had spent years calling weak. Ethan stood over him, looking down. "Now you know," he said. "Strength isn't about who throws the first punch. It's about knowing when to fight and when to walk away." And with that, Ethan turned his back and walked out of the ring. The next day at school was different. Ethan walked down the hallway, and for the first time, there was silence. No whispers, no laughter, no shoves from behind. People moved out of his way. Some looked at him in awe. Others avoided eye contact altogether. Josh, he was nowhere to be seen. Ethan reached his locker, opened it, and grabbed his books. That's when he heard a voice behind him. "Hey, Ethan!" He turned. It was Josh. But he didn't look like the same arrogant bully from before. His face was still bruised from the fight. His shoulders slumped. His usual cocky smirk was gone. "Can we talk?" Josh asked, his voice quieter than usual. Ethan raised an eyebrow. About what? Josh exhaled, shifting uncomfortably. Look, man, I was a jerk. I messed up. He hesitated. I never thought you were, like that. Ethan closed his locker, looking at Josh with an unreadable expression. And what does that change? Ethan asked. Would you have treated me differently if you knew? Josh swallowed hard. He didn't have an answer. Ethan sighed. You bullied me because you thought I was weak, but the truth is, you're the weak one. Josh flinched. You needed to put others down just to feel strong, but real strength? It's knowing you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Ethan's gaze didn't waver. I could have destroyed you last night, but I didn't. Think about that. Josh looked down, shame washing over his face. For the first time, he had nothing to say. Ethan turned away and walked down the hall, leaving Josh standing there, alone, defeated, and finally realizing the truth. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt truly free. As Ethan walked away, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. He had spent years being underestimated, pushed around, and humiliated. But in the end, he didn't need revenge. He didn't need to become a bully himself. He had already won. Because true strength isn't about fighting back, it's about knowing when to stand your ground and when to walk away. Josh would never forget that lesson, and neither would the people who had once mocked Ethan. Because now, they saw him for who he truly was, and he would never let them define him again. Now it's your turn. Have you ever been underestimated? Tell us your story in the comments. What would you have done in Ethan's place? Let's talk about it. If you believe in standing up for yourself, leave A in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.